I really admired how you said that despite the abuse you suffered, you didn't want your ex-husband to be portrayed as a villainous caricature and that you had compassion for him. You felt there was a lot of good there as well. You described him as this human with flawed value systems and insecurities. So as we try to empower our women, a lot of the education and awareness also has to happen concurrently in supporting men. So how do we ensure that men are also supported and have the strength to defy patriarchy, cultural norms, intergenerational biases, and have these kinds of conversations?
That's such a great question. And when I think about him or people like him, I think the problem with our world sometimes becomes we want everything to be very black and white. We want everything to be victims and perpetrators. But humans are not black and white. Of course, there are psychopaths and sociopaths out there. But at the same time, if we are going to villainize and monsterize people all the time, we're going to alienate them. And the way to reform is by invitation for dialogue, invitation to change. Now, not everybody deserves that, though. There are boundaries. And I tried with my ex-husband for several years to help him see what was wrong. But when he didn't, I needed to protect my own mental health and I needed to walk away. Right? So you can't take that on to yourself. You can't be the healer and the changer for everybody. You come first. But at the same time, on a mass level, I think you cannot change your abuser. So this doesn't work in a relationship. If someone's abusive, you have to walk away. But on a mass level, on an education level, I think it's really important to address things like toxic masculinity and patriarchy and to call it out, to portray things differently in the media. Like things that we see in movies, stalking is romanticized. Oh, this person loves her so much. That's why they're going after her. If a girl says no, you just got to try harder. Or boys are supposed to be these macho people who have no emotions whatsoever. And they're just going to go out and kill a bunch of people and appear all like, oh, wow, I'm all that. I'm such a man, right? Male sensitivity is rarely ever shown. So we are raising men who are so emotionally disconnected. And when they don't have emotional connection with themselves, how are they going to have it with someone else? When they don't have empathy for themselves, how will they have empathy towards someone else? And the number one trait of any abuser is lack of empathy. And that stems from lack of emotional connection. So until we're raising men to be sensitive human people who are connected with their own emotional core, we're not going to be able to change this. We're only fighting half the battle is like by addressing the victim and survivor side. But if we're not addressing upstream, what's actually causing this, we're always going to just keep playing catch up and doing damage control. And the stats are not going to change. So it's important to portray strong women in the media. It's important to have conversations with our children and for our educational system, for our teachers to be role modeling that behavior of respect for people who are different from us. And also portraying and encouraging talks about emotions and mental health and well-being in our young kids and boys and girls, especially boys, I think. And when it comes to older men who have been, let's say, who want to reform, sadly, my ex didn't, but there are certainly I've met men who have realized, oh my gosh, my beliefs are really causing me all these problems and are harming me in the process. So I want to change. And they've sort of awakened from that. Then we need to give them support rather than, oh no, you're an abuser. You don't deserve support. You don't deserve connection. No, people can change. People can awaken. Like I grew up in a family which is extremely patriarchal and homophobic and all of that. And I certainly, in early days of my life, those beliefs were spoon-fed to me. But I had awakenings and I knew that those beliefs were wrong and I reformed and I changed myself with a lot of help and therapy and talking to people. But if people had said to me, oh no, you were part of those people who have those beliefs, so you don't deserve any kind of respect or support, then I would have probably fallen back. So if there are people who are trying to change, then we need to give them that support and space to change. And we need to invite people who are different for dialogue rather than ridiculing them and rather than just making and pointing fingers and blaming and othering them. So that's sort of my thing. That doesn't mean that abuse is justified in any way. Absolutely not. But I think the approach to fighting abuse needs to be filled with more understanding, empathy, compassion, and education rather than blaming and pointing fingers and just deflecting.